I'm assuming you're not a fan of fast fashion, are you?
Why not?
Oh, it's good? Fast fashion is okay?
Yeah, I'm a fan of money. They make a lot of money.
I have no response to that. AI cannot create NIMANY. Can't create you, at least. But it can create something very close to you.
The fashion industry today, as a whole, luxury industry and fashion industry, throws away 90 billion garments every year. Throws in the garbage.
Well, hi there. Welcome to episode 358 of Roqe. I'm Jian. And as AI comes at us at warp speed, it may be prudent to note that inevitable doesn't always mean good. On this episode of Roqe, we're going to give you a very special talk and on-stage interview with Nima Behnoud of the popular luxury fashion brand NIMANY, recorded here at the Roqe Hub in front of a live audience this past weekend. The subject is how AI is changing the fashion world. And part of the approach I try to take in our conversation is to say that inevitable doesn't always mean good. Look, as we stand on the precipice of a new era in which artificial intelligence is set to shape nearly every facet of our lives, it's hard to ignore its undeniable momentum. In the world of fashion, AI promises speed and efficiency and a streamlined approach to everything from design to production. But just because something is inevitable, something that seems to offer undeniable convenience and progress, doesn't mean it is inherently good. The faster we move toward automation, the more we might ask, are we sacrificing human creativity, authenticity, and the very essence of what makes art, including fashion, so valuable? The power of AI to enhance is undeniable, but we must tread carefully in assuming that speed and efficiency always equate to better outcomes. The fashion industry, much like any other sector, stands to gain tremendously from AI in terms of personalization, sustainability, scalability. AI-driven algorithms can predict trends, automate production, deliver personalized experiences for consumers. But these technological advancements may come with unintended consequences, particularly when it comes to the potential loss of jobs, the erosion of craftsmanship that defines many of the fashion world's greatest achievements. If we allow AI to handle more and more of the creative process, how much of the human touch, the very soul of fashion, are we willing to lose in the name of progress? While AI has the potential to revolutionize the industry, you might say it's a crucial time to approach this integration with caution. Just because something is inevitable doesn't mean it should be embraced without question. The fashion world, like every other industry, must weigh the balance between innovation and preservation and consider how AI can enhance rather than replace the unique qualities that make fashion a true reflection of our humanity. The conversation is just beginning, but it's clear that we have to navigate the coming AI revolution with a keen sense of awareness and responsibility. And so, here we go. An on-stage talk and interview with Nima Behnoud on how AI is changing the fashion world. You might say this discussion cannot wait. This is Roqe, episode 358. It's January 30th, 2025. This is Roqe. Well, hi there. Welcome to episode 358 of Roqe. I am Jian. Hello to you from Toronto. Hello to you from Canada. Salam Dustan Aziz. Durud Basham. I hope you are doing well wherever you are tuning in from around the world. A great talk from ideas at the Roqe Hub coming up on this episode, an on-stage interview with Nima Behnoud of NIMANY. Cannot wait to share this with you. Nima flew up here this past weekend and we had a sold-out crowd chewing on all the philosophical implications of AI. So I think it's a very interesting conversation, and it was a great weekend. And Arsenal won twice the last 5 days. What else can you ask for? Before we get to the goods, a couple of quick notes. Next week, On this day, next Thursday, February 6th, is Roqe Live 4. So if you are listening to us on our podcast platforms, we're not going to have a show next week. We're going to skip next week's show because we will actually be recording live at the City Playhouse Theater in this time slot. If you're not coming in person to see that show at the theater, we will have the recording of it for you on episode 359 in a couple of weeks. If you are in Toronto or in the Greater Toronto area and you haven't gotten tickets yet for Roqe Live 4, there are just a few still available. You want to jump at it right now. The link to our tickets is from our Instagram page. Go to our bio in the Instagram page. You can get it there. Thursday, February 6, 2025. That's next Thursday at the City Playhouse Theater, just north of Toronto in Thornhill/Vaughan, Ontario. شهره آغداشلو، فرداد فرهزاد، دنگ شو، سیامک مهر، غزال پیانو, آناهیتا نایبی, Massa Mortazavi, Blanche Echo, our DJ, Pega Ganji, who will also be there. We miss her this week. Tickets on sale now. Again, check out the bio on our Instagram, or if you go to Roqe Media, the Instagram page, check out the bio, link there to the tickets, or our website, roqemedia.com. There's just a few tickets available. So if you haven't got them, don't be too iruni and wait any longer. Just go and get them. Also, I want to give a shout out to Ramteen and Lazar or Lazar. Roham, what's it more likely to be? Lazar. Because Persians would say Lazar. They wouldn't say Lazar. Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Lazar Prop Creation for so this guy Ramteen has helped us out so much with Roqe. He actually built this desk, in fact, and the stage here at the Roqe Hub, which you're going to see in this episode. Lazar Prop Creation, maybe they create pop as well. Lazar Prop Creation are experts in creating props, in woodworking, custom builds, backdrops, marquees, whatever you want done with wood. This guy is a carpenter who is a magician with what he does. Find Ramteen at Lazar Prop Creation on Instagram and elsewhere. Lazar, thank you so much, Ramteen. And also, I have to say on this, there are a gazillion Persian restaurants in the Greater Toronto area, as you may know. If you live here or if you are visiting, you might think, where should I eat? Well, there are a lot of good ones. But surely among the top of those, at the top of the list, is Bukhara restaurant. Bukhara is a haven of Persian culinary delights, nestled in the heart of Richmond Hill. Their story is one of love for authentic flavors and the desire to share the rich tapestry of Persian cuisine. Honestly, this is one of the best tasting experiences you will ever have. If you've not been, you must visit Hassan and Atifeh and the Bukhara staff. It is a boutique place popular amongst the Iranian stars. Check out Bukhara, and much like our very own Super P, producer Parisa, they are Mashhadi. That has implications for the food, as you may know. It's really, really good. Bukhara, Yonge Street, North in Toronto. If you're visiting, if you're from Toronto, I haven't been there, I'm choking up just thinking about it. Okay, let's get to the main part of the show. The past weekend, we had our inaugural edition of Ideas at the Roqe Hub in front of a live audience here. And I want to give you that now. This is a talk from Nima Behnoud, followed by an onstage interview. I was joined in the Roqe Hub by a trailblazer at the intersection of technology and fashion. Nima Behnoud is the founder of NIMANY, a cutting-edge fashion tech brand that blends creativity with innovative solutions to reshape the industry. With a deep understanding of both fashion and emerging technologies, Nima has led the charge in integrating AI into fashion design and production, helping to build and bring a new wave of possibilities to how we create, consume, and experience fashion. His work is not only redefining fashion, but also challenging how we think about sustainability, personalization, and the future of the industry as a whole. In our conversation, we explore the exciting yet sometimes controversial role of AI in the fashion business, from automating design processes to personalizing shopping experiences. AI, as you know, is poised to change everything. But as with any revolution, there are challenges and ethical questions that we must address, such as the impact on jobs, on creativity, sustainability. Nima takes us through the opportunities and the hurdles and sheds light on how AI might just be the key to unlocking a new era for the fashion world. He is pro AI. So, as part of the ideas at the Roqe Hub, here is first a talk from Nima Behnoud of NIMANY. You will see him give his talk on how AI is changing the fashion world. Right after that, we'll give you an onstage interview with me in front of our audience here at the Roqe Hub. Here we go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jian, for the nice introduction. Thank you for everyone who came here in the cold Toronto night. My flight from New York to Toronto was empty. And I asked the only person in the airplane, how come it's empty? And they said, nobody's crazy enough to come from New York to Toronto in a January. And I guess it's true. It's about 11 degrees colder than New York here. So it's like really cold. We are supposed to talk about AI, and AI is a hot topic nowadays, and everybody talks about AI. But before getting to AI, I have to give you guys a little bit of history about NIMANY and how I got involved in technology. So if you agree, I'll take you back to 1999, me as a 18-year-old graphic designer, and how I got involved in technology. How does that sound like? Yeah. So it's 1999. I arrived in New York from San Francisco as a young graphic designer, a simple graphic designer. And my life in San Francisco was a typical life of a graphic designer, a 9-to-5 job, a car, a regular ad agency job, very predictable, simple, and uninspiring. And I came to New York hoping to change that because I had bigger dreams, and California wasn't the right place for me, and I didn't want to be a simple graphic designer. So I had big dreams, but I was very naive and unfamiliar with how New York is going to end up being. So when I arrived in New York, and when you look at New York from the outside, you're going to see these beautiful long skyscrapers that are magnificent, but in fact, they're hiding this harsh reality within it, which is a brutal place, very judgmental, and extremely expensive. Naturally, I ran out of money after 6 months because I was just a graphic designer, and I had high ambition. I thought I'm going to come to New York and become an art director for this brand and that brand, and I had a list of my favorite fashion brands, and I thought it's going to be quick for me to get a job. But it didn't happen. It became 6-7 months. I was running out of money. So I kept lowering the bar when I was looking for jobs. So I started from an art director, and then I said, okay, this is not going to happen. So I want to be a graphic designer at a fashion house. That didn't happen. So I kept lowering and lowering it. And the bottom of the barrel was a graphic designer at a tech company. So I said, I'm fine with that. I'm going to look for a job at a tech company. So I saw an ad on the paper that said a graphic design job for a tech startup in New York. I went to that interview. I remember vividly it said graphic design job. I sat at the interview, and back then we had portfolios, this big narrow suitcase with posters mounted onto the boards. I paid a lot of attention to that to make it look good. So 10 minutes into the interview, I noticed that nobody's asking me to open up your portfolio. And slowly they kept referring to me as a HTML coder. And they're like, so you're, for this web design job, you know JavaScript? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm a graphic designer. I'm here to get a graphic design job. And if there are any graphic designers here, we naturally don't like coders. And whenever we see a bad design, we say a programmer did that, or a HTML coder did that. So there is a taboo in the whole design community that whatever is bad, an HTML coder or a JavaScript person did it. So imagine now me sitting here and they're calling me a programmer. And I told them, listen, I'm not a programmer, I'm a graphic designer. And they're like, no, we looked at your resume, we looked at your work. You're going to be a good web designer. So, and it was a big dilemma for me. It was either saying yes to that and staying in New York, or saying no, and I didn't even have time to look for more jobs, and maybe I have to go back to my uninspiring life in San Francisco. So I accepted the job. And that interview was a changing moment for me, and my first forced marriage to technology. So I became friends with something that I hated all my life as a designer, and I always uh, escaped the technology part of things. So I played the role of a programmer for 2 years, and I acted every day at that job because I wasn't a real programmer. So I taught myself, I educated myself, and I acted like a programmer. But what happened was that job changed something really big in me, and my labels of cool and uncool were recalibrated. So at the end of those 2 years, it took me 2 years to pull myself from the seat of a programmer and put myself back into the seat of a designer. But that 2 years taught me a lot. So, and I became friends with technology. Now, New York really crushed me into little pieces and rebuilt a designer who is tech savvy now, who is okay with technology and who is into technology and embraces it, not only not make fun of it. So now I'll fast forward to 2005 when NIMANY was born. When NIMANY was born, because I became a little bit tech savvy, so I immediately leveraged that. And even though in the beginning NIMANY was a brand with only 12 t-shirts, I had a very sophisticated inventory management system written by myself as a programming code because I learned that. And my first website, I don't know if anybody remembers NIMANY's first website in 2005, was made in Flash, which was not customary back then. It was a Flash that had e-commerce capabilities. That was a really big tech thing back then. So I immediately took advantage of technology, and it helped me from right in the beginning. This is 2005, NIMANY was born. Now we fast forward to 2020, a few years ago, when NFT and cryptocurrencies and all of that happened. So immediately right after NFTs, I realized that we know the technology, we're gonna hire some blockchain programmers, and we're gonna take advantage of this as well. And we did. We released the first rounds of NIMANY NFTs, and we generated some revenue, and it was fantastic. But that faded really quick, the whole NFT thing. As soon as it faded, a monster took its place that we called artificial intelligence. So all of a sudden, nobody's talking about cryptocurrencies anymore, and now everybody's talking about AI. AI this, AI that, this is done by AI. And at that time in 2020, the codes weren't available to public, like people were running locally on their computer. And we wanted it, and we were aware that there's such technology exists out there. So I immediately went into exploring AI and how AI can help us as a brand. Now, this is 2020, 15 years after the first day of NIMANY. I have done over 1,000 photo shoots. I have directed over 1,000 photo shoots, and my photo shoots are really involved. Like you have 4 or 5 models, you have a whole crew of hair and makeup, a director of photography, lighting crew. It's a big production, and I directed about 1,000 of those. So I understand the basic of a photo shoot, but I also understand the economics of a photo shoot and how much it costs. And contrary to what many of you may think, a photo shoot's main expense is not expensive models that we use or a famous photographer who's gonna do the shoot. A lot of times the post-production, making the images look good, end up being more expensive than the actual photo shoot. So that was a problem for us. AI helped us, retouching the images, making the images look good, doing the color grading and all of that. So that was the first advantage of AI for us as a brand. And for any fashion brand, time is the most important thing, because if you're shooting a campaign today and if the campaign comes out in 6 months, that means you're not selling anything in 6 months. If the campaign is coming out in a week, that means you can start selling in a week. So time is very important. So AI helped us really narrow down the time of coming to public, coming to social media and Instagram and TikTok and whatnot. So the campaign was shot A week after, because everything was done with AI. The retouching was done with AI, color correction done with AI. So that was fantastic. And on top of it, we saved a lot of money because these agencies that do post-production, the bill can get really crazy, way more than a photo shoot itself. So that's the first advantage of AI that I can tell you guys as a personal experience. But just to give you guys a big picture, the fashion industry today as a whole, luxury industry and fashion industry, throws away 90 billion garments every year, throws in the garbage. That's 30% of the entire production of fashion and luxury market. And with all this sustainability and all of that, they only recycle 1% of it. So from the 90 billion that they throw away, only 1% gets recycled. And that's a whole nother topic because the cost of that 1% being recycled is crazy. So why do you think so many items gets thrown away? Can anyone guess why? Right, so it's because designers designed with the wrong color, with the wrong style. Because the fashion forecasting companies, the ones that tell us what colors are in, what colors are not in, they're too late because human does that research. A bunch of guys sit around each other and they do research. They go talk to people, they conduct surveys and all of that, and they find out in 2025, silver is going to be the new color, brown is no longer the color, and all of that. But by the time they put the report together and give it to us as a designer, and we design, and the design comes to the market, 8 months have passed, trend has changed. So what happens? The market is flooded with the clothing in the wrong color, so everything goes to the garbage, from Zara, H&M, and all the fast fashion companies. So this is a huge waste. So what happened now? Now AI does that forecasting. So algorithm goes and studies each one of you and the way you behave on Instagram, the pictures you like, the reels that you like, and understands what trends you like and predicts what's coming in the future. So now that report that we used to pay $100,000 a year to be subscribed to it is free, and it's done by AI. So AI gives us a PDF. The PDF tells us these colors are in, these kind of handbags are in, these kind of clutches are in, and it's very quick. And we can act upon it quick. Therefore, the wastage is going to get reduced. We're not going to design in colors that no one wants in 6 months. So that's the second advantage. That's still not for us because we're not that big of a brand for it. Fashion industry as a whole, the wastage is going to get really reduced. Now, both of these advantages, the first one and the second one, were problem-solving advantages. Now, what about the fun stuff that AI gives us? Now, designers know that we have a conversation with a designer and a producer. I have this every day in our office that I have all these crazy ideas. I want a white horse in the middle of Times Square with a beautiful model holding a clutch, riding the horse, and my producer says, "Are you crazy? We can't get a permit to bring a horse, and then what do we do with animal rights activists, and what do we do with this, and what do we do with..." Forget it. Just do a regular shoot at the studio. This conversation is standard conversation with every single design house in the world. AI has changed that. Now I can do a photo shoot in the moon. I can have a girl in the moon riding a rainbow, holding a clutch, whatever I want. And that's the beauty, that's the exciting part. If you look at NIMANY's Instagram and compare it to a year and a half ago, it looks very different because now whatever I want, I can do. Back in the day, it was very difficult to do something really crazy as a photo shoot. We had to do everything in the studio with a guideline and this and that. And I'm very, very, very specific with models. And I usually go through thousands and thousands of girls to pick the one I want. Now I can make the one that is not perfect to look perfect with AI. It's not a big deal. So the third one, which is the fun part for me, is really exciting. Now, many of you may say AI is not good because it's going to kill our jobs. It's going to take away jobs from designers, and a lot of people are going to be jobless because of that. I don't think so, because there is a part of a designer's brain that can never be replaced with AI, because us as humans, we go through an up and down. You know, maybe in one day, in a course of 24 hours, in the morning, you're happy, you're inspired by the beautiful architecture of New York, and on the same night at 3 a.m., you wake up with some existential crisis, doubting your entire artistic direction, and you want to destroy everything. We have no choice. It's the nature of human beings. We go up and down. And artists, when they go up and down, they create. When they're unhappy, they create. When they're happy, they create. AI can't do that. AI can't fall in love. AI can't get hurt. And they cannot react to that. At least now, I don't think AI can do that. And one example that I can tell you, one of my favorite fashion designers, Alexander McQueen, the guy had a very rough childhood. He had major trauma during his childhood. And because of that, he creates these darker collections. There's a lot of skulls, there's a lot of black and red. A lot of people look at it and be like, it's scary, it's dark, I call it beautiful. But as an artist, he has the ability to process life events in a very unique way. The guy experiences really sad stuff, and then he created. I don't think AI can do that. I don't think AI can go through life events up and down and create like that. I think AI can help us accelerate everything, be super quick, reduce the process, reduce the cost. And now we are faced with a lot of designers, and maybe a lot of you, that every time you see anything AI, you say, this looks fake, this looks cheesy, this looks AI, this looks not right. And because of that, a lot of people undermine AI. They say it looks horrible, it looks AI. First of all, the reason that doesn't look good is because somebody used AI in the wrong area. You really have to design first, bring something out of your heart, and then use AI to make it look better. If you're lazy and you want to use AI from the beginning till the end, it's going to end up looking not good. And that's why a lot of people see something and be like, oh, this looks fake, this looks AI. But in general, every time a change happens, a lot of artists resist it. In 1994, nobody thought internet is going to be a thing. Tom Ford, in one interview, he said, no one can replace the experience of sipping a champagne at a showroom and trying a gown, because they told him, let's start a website and sell the gowns on the website. He said nobody would ever buy gowns. Today, more people buy $15,000 dresses online than go to the store. That experience is still there, but it's narrowing and narrowing and narrowing. So the number of people who want to go and sit and have their champagne and try something on are much less than 25 years ago. And now people buy stuff online. So whoever resisted technology ended up losing. 1994, Gucci forgot to register the name Gucci.com because they didn't believe in it. So a kid went and got Gucci.com, and Gucci ended up paying $500,000 to a little kid to get the name. Why? Because they didn't believe in technology. And now what happens now, people shop online more than they go to the store. I think we are at a very interesting moment of history, because AI is going to do the same exact thing as 1994 and internet. And if we really undermine it right now and make fun of it, we're going to be the loser. And a lot of my friends are worried every day. They're like, we're going to be jobless in 5 years. I don't think a good designer is going to be jobless. I really don't think so. But AI is like a medicine. You have to know exactly where to use it and how much of it you use, so it's not excessively used and it doesn't look wrong. But in general, I see it as a very positive thing. Yes, post-production agencies are going to go out of business, the ones that charge you a lot for color correcting and retouching a face and all of that. But instead, we're going to have new agencies. We're going to have new AI agencies, and new people are going to give us services. New jobs are going to happen. McKinsey report came out with a report that in the next 5 years, fashion industry as a whole is going to generate extra $275 billion because of AI. $275 billion extra to what fashion industry makes. So that's a huge number. I remember in when I was 16 years old, I was in Tehran and I was working as a junior graphic designer at a magazine. And someone told me, if you go to America and if you learn Photoshop, you can make some money. Just do that. Go learn Photoshop. And I really did that. And I went and I learned Photoshop and Illustrator and I got a job. I didn't have to go to a restaurant and work. So it was very simple. Now, if somebody asks me for advice, I say, go learn AI, you're gonna make $200,000. And if you go to the job board of Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Fendi, it's full of AI listings because they don't even know what it is. They want somebody to come and help them. And it's fascinating. So people who really learn this right now are gonna end up being really successful. So that's, I leave it at that, that fashion industry is gonna change. And I like that change. I think it's a positive thing. A lot of people view it as negative, and they think it's a bad thing that fashion industry is gonna go towards AI. But we have no power. We can't resist that. It's like the internet in 1994. But we have to embrace it. We have to learn and study and educate ourselves and really empower ourselves with AI. So I see it as a positive thing.
Nima Behnoud. Great talk. That was very, you weaved a tale. You went from your beginning to where you've landed now, and you did it in a thrifty way, at 15, 20 minutes. Thank you for that. I want to maybe suggest the proposition is that not whether AI is going to happen or whether you can make $200,000 with it, or whether it's the future that people should embrace in terms of success materially or economically or in industry, but whether that's a good thing, whether it's good. Just because something can make you successful doesn't necessarily mean it's good. So if we go backwards to where you started in this conversation, you talked about how that kid coming from San Francisco had to become friends with technology. And I think that plays to the very heart of this conversation around AI because there's some kind of fear there. When do I want to be friends with this thing or not? So if you go back to that Nima, before he comes to New York, what was it about technology that you didn't think would serve you as a creative person?
It wasn't really this well thought out. You know, a young designer, you have to, look at, and I also grew up in Tehran until I was 18, so we have all these notions of who is cool and who's not cool and who's Jawad and this and that. We have all of that. We grew up with all of that. So more so as a designer, fashion is super judgmental. We judge people. We say this guy looks bad, this girl looks horrible. So we do that all day long. So because of that, we stereotype the technology people. We did back then, heavily. I always thought a web designer shouldn't design anything, should just listen to a designer. A web designer is not a designer. So we had all these black and whites in our mind. It changed because I was forced to sit on that chair and become the web designer out of force. I was running out of money, so I had to do something in order to stay in New York. And because I did that, I appreciated it. I said, you know what? Programming is not bad. It can be creative. You can look at it as a creative process. Now, majority of the big fashion brands who are not implementing technology are hurting big time, and they're staying behind. Big fashion houses, you look at LVMH and Louis Vuitton, and the reason they're so successful because they have a very powerful technology department, and it's advancing. And then you compare it with another house that is not as successful, it's because they look down on technology and they think technology is not. Right now, one of the biggest challenges in all the fashion brands is that somebody needs to get these two guys around the same table and make them friends.
But when you were, by the way, sidebar, we have to discuss whether AI can make Iranians less Javad or not. How to use AI to...
That's going to be a big challenge.
But not that there's anything wrong with being Javad, of course. I'm not judging.
Javad is in right now a little bit.
Is Javad back?
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. It seemed like it had gone away for a while, but it's nice that it's back. At the heart of when you're that cool kid who distrusts technology, it seems like part of it is a concern that that there's going to be a stifling of creativity, that it's going to somehow be an attack on creativity. And that's what I feel strikes at the heart. That's certainly what I fear when it comes to AI. I love the fact that I can already use it to make my life faster or whatever, but where is creativity in all of this, right? Because as you say, AI cannot create NIMANY, can't create you at least, but it can create something very close to you. And if that becomes the norm and people are socialized to feel that that's okay, it can replace you. And therefore we're losing creativity. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I see what you're saying, but I'll give you one little story. When I was 15 in Tehran, we were so infatuated by a Levi's 501. I don't know if anybody is as old as me. So it was a huge deal. And we used to touch the side of it and be like, you know, is it authentic or not? And look at the back of the button to see if it has a number. It was a big deal. Me and my friends used to go to the border of Iran and Iraq, because Red Cross would drop packages of ripped up clothing in that area. We would find them, bring them back to Tehran, boil them so we can take them apart, and have these jeans and write on them and put graffitis on them and sell them. We would take them to Shomal and in the parties and sell them, and that was so fascinating. Because as a 14-year-old, I was touching my own money. It was a very big deal. To a point that my parents got worried that they thought I'm a drug dealer. They saw some cash in my room and they came like, where did you make that money? And I said, no, I
You were a kind of drug dealer.
So this fascination existed back then. So I experienced something. And then I have a feeling that it was the same hunger that carried me to New York and forced me to create NIMANY, because I always wanted to have a brand even when I was 14. Now,
excellent.
Now AI can't do that. Can't
exactly.
go through life
exactly.
like that. I don't think AI can go through that life process.
Well, but that's my point. What I'm saying is, if that's the case, but if somebody can create something, you know, somebody earlier said fast fashion. I'm assuming you're not a fan of fast fashion, are you?
Why not?
Oh, it's good? Fast fashion is okay?
Yeah, I'm a fan of money. They make a lot of money.
I have no response to that.
Why not?
If the goal is making money, yes. But you talked about sustainability. I mean, and you talked about creativity, and all of that is at odds with fast fashion, isn't it? And yet AI seems to me exactly what would be used to perpetuate fast fashion.
So, fast fashion like Zara, let's say. What Zara does is, there is a Gucci and Fendi fashion show in Milan. Zara's designers are sitting on first row, sketching from that runway. They go back to Zara factory. They produce what they see much quicker than Fendi.
Okay.
By the time you see it in Zara, 2 seasons after, you see it in Gucci and Fendi. Why? Because they have all these aristocratic hierarchies, and this person has to approve it, and that person has to approve it. And these guys have a factory on a ship. So factory is doing the cotton, so get to the stores and all of that. So they're losing the business. So fast fashion, especially Zara, is fantastic. The quality is not good, so what? You throw it away after 6 months, you buy another one. But the quality is bad, but that's not a bad thing.
But you wouldn't, that's not the standard that you hold NIMANY to, is it?
No. My brand has a different DNA. I don't compare myself with Zara.
Okay.
Zara is the most profitable.
Why not? Why don't you just become Zara if it's so good?
It's not as big as Zara. It's nowhere near being. Zara is the most profitable brand right now, by the way.
But isn't But isn't part of, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but knowing you and having interviewed you and being friends with you, isn't part of the success of NIMANY that you had some great original ideas?
I had,
Oh,
yes.
okay. So if somebody, so how do you feel about somebody stealing those ideas?
They have in Iran. Go look at all the fake Nimani.
Exactly. How do you feel about that?
What can I do?
Sounds like you don't love it.
No, in
right?
the beginning.
So if I can go on a computer and say, hey, dear AI, create something that is almost exactly like NIMANY, what does that do for you in your business?
Okay, so I understand.
That's where I'm going
I
with
understand
this,
where you're going with this. First time that I saw a fake Nimani, somebody bought a ring and came to New York and said, "Oh, I love you. Look at this I bought," and I was embarrassed to tell her that it's fake because I didn't want to make her upset, but it was fake. I got upset. I mean, I'm a designer. I'm upset. But then I started noticing a pattern. All the people who have fake Nimanis, they look the same. And they don't look like the guys who have the original. I don't even want that audience. They look very different. That's fantastic. Let them buy the fake. They would never come to me and buy the original. They're not the type who would pay $500 for a Nimani clutch. They will always buy it for $20. So, okay, that's fine. More power to you. Today, I'm not really hurt by that. I see them. I see them out there, many of them.
What changed?
Because I built my own audience. I know who likes Nimani and why, and I think, you know, I am very thankful to have that audience, and I do not think they're going to go one day and buy something fake because it's a little bit cheaper, because they have a connection established. But to your point, if AI comes and replicates Nimani right now, it can. It can do that.
Yes, it can.
And that forces...
I can even say to AI,
All right.
replicate 99.5% of the Nimani DNA,
Right.
just so that it's still original, and basically take all of what you've built. I'm not necessarily saying this is bad, but I'm asking you how you feel about that. Because, you know, this is the way I felt as a drummer when drum machines came in. It's like,
Right.
well, you don't need me anymore. You know, now you can just program this thing. And then it was kind of like, well, you might not be able to do the jazz feel, but, you know. So that's what I'm asking you. I mean, how do you, do you worry that people like you will become less relevant?
I worry, first of all. I can't say I don't worry. I worry, but I don't worry that this AI is going to come and become a second Nimani and take my job away. They can replicate what I create. They can study my design pattern and reproduce something. And that keeps me on the edge. That makes me move. That makes me not get lazy. I have to come up with better and newer things. And that makes me move, basically. But I worry all day long about many things. It's just one added to the mix. Like,
What else do you worry about?
everything.
Like,
Everything.
like what?
What if I don't make enough money? What if this doesn't happen? What if that doesn't happen? All day.
Fast fashion, become Zara. That's the answer.
Fast fashion is good money-making machine.
You said something about lazy. That's what AI feels like sometimes. It feels like it's. I mean, I know in media now that you don't need to. A young journalist doesn't need to think about what questions they're going to ask Nimani. They can feed it into AI and say, "Give me 10 questions for Nimani." I think, okay, well, that's great. You can read those questions, but that's a lazy way of doing things that isn't necessarily going to teach you to be able to do this if you don't have the machine in front of you. Talk to me about that.
Absolutely. So that's why I said, right now, it has become so easy. You can go to AI if you know how. You can say, design me a clutch. Make the clutch have a DNA of Persian culture. Design me something like that. And AI will do it. And it's going to look like crap. Why? Because you ask too much from AI from the beginning till the end, and you didn't do anything. You became lazy. But what if you design a little bit of it? You just do a basic sketch, you give it some colors, and then you ask AI to make this better, polish it, work on it, and step by step involve AI. Look at AI as a very smart creative assistant. You have a creative assistant, she never goes to sleep, you don't have to give her salary, she never goes to a bathroom break, she's there all the time, 24/7, whatever you want her, she's gonna do. But don't tell her to do things above her, that she cannot think like you do. She can help you.
It's the first time I've thought of a gender for AI. But that's does everybody?
Most of my assistants are female, that's right.
All right. You know, I just wonder if, I guess to pick up on that and the lazy part, I wonder about about lowering standards. I mean, this isn't just about AI, it's perhaps about technology in general, but I think about that we have some photographers in the room, right? Omid's a photographer, Tina's a photographer, Ebby's a photographer. They have a skill, and 20 years ago, they could do this, you know? The rest of us were walking around with digital cameras. Remember digital cameras? Like it was, you know, and then iPhone was invented, and now we all have these things in our pockets, and now everybody's a photographer. Yeah. Everybody's a photographer. And everybody can fuck around with their photo and put, you know, filters on it and do whatever they want. And so, with respect, I don't want to insult our photographers here, that our official photographers, but I feel like
Omid is a great photographer.
Well, yes, but I feel like their value has gone down, not because they're not great, but because what we're used to seeing has become so commonplace that it's like, you know, it's like an electronic dance beat. You hear it enough times, and who cares who created it? Somebody created that. Somebody, you know. So, and I wonder if that's true of fashion too. That it just becomes this common denominator. That it becomes a lower standard.
It's true. It's true. In an example of a photographer, the photographer has to add to his services. Needs to add something new. Needs to up his game. Add a creative touch to what he does. The era of these superstar photographers, we used to have Richard Avedons and Peter Lindbergh and all of that. The guy would show up at the shoot and just press a button, and you have Chrissy Turlington and Linda Evangelista in front of you. So if you put a child, you're gonna have a fantastic photo, doesn't matter. That era is done. I don't think we're gonna have a novelty photographer anymore. Now, the photographer does not have the luxury to say, I'm just a photographer. Somebody else needs to do the rest of the job.
Also a barista.
Yeah, you can't do that. You need to learn. I mean, you need to really educate yourself. You need to, maybe a photographer gets into AI is gonna discover something really interesting. So
that is a job loss.
A job loss for who?
But the photographer.
So it forces photographer to become better and add something. And if you don't want to do that, if you're too lazy for that, you're going to lose your job.
If AI creates something for me, design me a pair of pants that I'm going to put out there, design me a pair of pants that look like a cross between Alexander McQueen and NIMANY. Who owns the copyright to that?
Now, that's a 4-hour conversation, the intellectual property, because right now, they haven't even written laws for that. Right now, the data set is out there. I can say, take a photo of this girl and make her appear like Adriana Lima. And AI is going to do that for me. Why? Because AI has been trained by Adriana Lima's data sets, because the data sets are out there. Who owns the data set? Adriana Lima or the photographer or Gucci or Guess? Who owns it?
What's your answer to that?
We don't know that. Right now, they're too busy writing a law for it. They don't even know where to stop it. So this is very new. Like me and you are right now are talking about future. I don't know what's going to happen to the copyright law.
That's kind of terrifying, right? No?
Yes and no. I think the definition may change. Because right now, you can go to AI and say, design something, a different product, something I don't have. but be inspired by NIMANY. And it's going to design something for you that I don't have the ability to do, like a furniture, let's say. Make me a chair that is inspired by NIMANY. You're going to have that chair. Why? Because AI has been trained with NIMANY's images for 15 years being put online.
Yes.
Is that take away my right? I don't know.
Yes, and even that chair, who owns the intellectual property to that chair? The machine?
Big question.
The person who asked the question? I mean, it is a big question.
Yeah, it gets really philosophical because we don't have anything concrete right now.
What are you, before I want to open this up to the audience to be able to ask questions too, but, and so if you have something, think about what you might want to ask Nima on this topic or any other, but in terms of the practical application, you talked about some of the ways in which you're using AI. When you and I first talked about this a couple of weeks ago or last month, we said this is a topic. You said you were actually catching some shit for this. You said that you get criticized a little bit for online. I mean, everybody gets criticized for everything online, but what is the criticism that you get for working with AI?
I get criticized all the time for everything I do. I don't know why. I mean, I think maybe because the audience, there's a lot of Iranians in the audience, but I get criticized. I got used to being criticized on everything that I do. But the AI part is, I grew up in the 90s, and we got used to some imagery. We got used to Calvin Klein's Eternity with Chrissy Turlington and the way the woman looks like. And we were influenced by that. So it's natural that when I want to use a model, I want to make her look like that. And everybody criticizes me like, why don't you use an Asian model? Why don't you use a black model? There's nothing wrong with that. The DNA of the brand happened to be this way right now. It may change tomorrow. So I get criticized for that. Recently, I've been criticized that, yes, I wanted a unicorn. I wanted a model riding a unicorn. The unicorn is not real. So I created it with AI, and then I have these comments, this is fake. No shit,
it's not a real unicorn.
It is fake. But what am I going to do?
But Nima, when I used AI yesterday to ask what I should ask Nima about AI.
You asked AI?
Which I did do, yes. The third, I said, what are the critical things I would ask Nima about AI and fashion? The third thing that came up, I mean, the first thing was stifling of creativity. The second thing was job losses. Third thing that came up was lack of diversity. That AI, and you did say this in your talk. I don't want to. I mean, it's your business. You got to think this way. I get it. But you said, I can now make a model more perfect. And so the fear is that AI puts everything through a funnel of what the idea of what is perfect is, whether it's the 90s Christy Turlington or whatever, and that we somehow lose that. I'm not coming from a woke position of like everything has to be diverse or whatever, but that we lose a sense of propriety over let's create diverse images.
Do you think Kim Kardashian is pretty?
I love it when someone turns around a question on me. Do I think Kim Kardashian is pretty? Can I crowdsource this? I don't think she. Sure, I think she's pretty. Yeah, why not?
So,
not. I mean, yeah, sure. Okay. Fine.
So if
I'm so curious to see where it's going.
If someone asked you this question 15 years ago, I can guarantee you the answer would have been different. So now we have someone like Kim Kardashian, who doesn't have the characteristic of a model, of a fashion model. But she's very pretty and smart, but people think otherwise. People look at her and think she's dumb, but she's not dumb. So right now we have this duality, I worked with her, I gave her one of my clutches and she loved it and I had a communication with her. The girl is not stupid.
More Ronaldo than Messi.
I'm a Ronaldo fan.
I know, that's why.
But I worked with both of them very closely.
And you said one was very smart and the other...
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used the bad word, but that's fine. So what I'm saying is public's opinion about certain things is very different than the reality. Like I had an interview and I said something to somebody asked me, would you like to embrace Persian culture and give one of your clutches to the cultural ambassador of this country? I said, no, I want Kim Kardashian to have it. They're like, what? That is stupid. Why not? Because she is the furthest thing from somebody who knows the Iranian culture.
I don't know where you're going with that in terms of AI, though.
This is where I'm going with that. Right now, she has my clutch. And that has a lot more value to me than somebody who is extremely familiar with the culture, with Persian culture, to have it. Now, the reason I brought this in the middle is because you said you've been criticized recently about a bunch of things. It's people's opinion versus the reality of certain things. You get criticized no matter what. Same as I just asked you if you think Kim is pretty or not.
When she's holding your clutch, very pretty.
So
when she's got the Nima, sporting the Nima.
You're just being kind to me, but look at her in her own light.
But actually, I didn't totally understand that. Do you think 15 years ago I wouldn't think she's attractive?
No.
So, but I do now? You asked me thinking that I was going to say yes immediately.
I don't know if
what happened to Kim. I don't know. I don't understand where we're going with it. People like Kim Kardashian are considered more attractive now.
No, what I'm saying is people's opinion. There's a lot of resistance towards her. People think she's stupid. People think she's wrong. This, that. But in reality, what I'm saying, as somebody who has been close to her, she's not. So I get criticized. But it's okay because that's not the reality.
I wasn't criticizing you. I was talking about just AI and diversity, and because I mean this isn't new. This goes back to in the 1980s or not the book the Beauty Myth. How everything we're beholden to something that a multi-billion-dollar industry tells us is beautiful, and some of us with bigger noses were like, oh, I wish I looked like Brad Pitt, and that's not just women, right? Yeah. So it feels like AI has the potential to accelerate that even further, to create more perfect images that are not consistent with a diverse society.
Not necessarily. You can ask AI to make the model look any way that you want. You look at Gucci's latest campaign. Those girls look sick, all of them. They look like they have serious illness, boys and girls. That wasn't accepted 10 years ago, but now they have this heroin chic that they call
That's back too? Yeah. That was the 80s.
CK1 and...
heroin chic and Javad, two things are coming back. Yeah.
So, no, AI can create that. AI can create that look. No, AI can't just do pretty girls. AI can do whatever you ask him to do. Be inspired by the 2011 campaign of Fendi and create something. They can do that.
The bottom line of what you're saying is actually very consistent with what a lot of smart people in tech say, which is not the technology, it's how you use it. It seems to be the theme of what you're saying, which I totally appreciate. Can you talk about the app? What is the way that you've used AI most recently that has been the most effective for you?
Right now, the majority of the AI that I used is in retouching and color correcting. So before, when we had a photo shoot, we had a makeup session that took about 2 hours because we were really picky about the makeup and how it looks like. Now we are a little bit more relaxed because even if it's not perfect, we make it perfect quickly. That's 90%. A little bit are the settings. Let's say I want to shoot something in south of France. I create the same exact setting and lighting in a studio. Sometimes I even bring water and make some water reflection and all of that. And then we add south of France to that. So this is very easy now.
You're saving a lot of money.
A lot of money. People used to do this with Photoshop, but it didn't look right. Now with AI, it looks perfect, undetectable.
Part of what you've been getting at, I think, is perhaps it's interesting. Like if you think about a brand like Hermes or Gucci or NIMANY, it withstands somehow through all these changes in technology, right? Some of the top brands haven't disappeared because the internet was invented, or because there was the iPhone, or now because of AI. And in about 20 years ago, or I guess 19 years ago now, 2006, I did a documentary series that was called The End. It was a 3-part series called The End, about the end of radio, the end of television, the end of print media. And for the print media one, I went to, because this was the coming of the internet and all these online, and it was at a time when the subscriber model for newspapers was absolutely not working. Nothing was working online. Nobody was making money online yet. And I went to New York and interviewed the editors, the publishers of the New York Times, and said, "Are you worried that the New York Times is not going to exist? All these other newspapers going down?" And they quite bullishly, almost pretentiously, but very clearly said, "No, we'll be okay because content is king. People will always want a New York Times, because we're the newspaper of record, we're the best. Now, whether you think they are or not, they're certainly, up there, right?" And they turned out to be right. A lot of other newspapers have died, but New York Times has actually gone up in revenue because they've got a subscriber model now where people all over the world who couldn't pay for home delivery because they didn't live in New York or something like that are now subscribers to the New York Times. And so do you believe that? Do you believe that ultimately content is king, that no matter whether AI or not AI, et cetera, those designers that are the true best, however we define that, are not going anywhere?
If you're talking about the creations that they've done, if it's not going anywhere, of course, it's not going anywhere. But the job of a designer is going to get redefined. It's not going to get disappeared. The designer is not going to become jobless. It's going to be redefined, and they have to adapt to that new norm. So it's really smart for them to update themselves with technology and adapt to that rather than making fun of it or looking down on it.
And it sounds like you were saying in your talk that there are some big fashion houses that are scrambling now to catch up to AI and all of that.
Because they have felt the need that they need to have an AI department, but they don't even know what it is. So right now, it's a hot job in the fashion industry, and they don't even know how to define the title of that job. They just say AI specialist because they don't know who that person is. Like, Louis Vuitton has one, but let's say Balenciaga wants somebody to go there and say, "I'm going to open up a department here. I'm going to hire people. We're going to have AI. Don't worry about it. We're going to be up to date with technology." Everybody wants it. So people who are good at it, good at generative AI, are going to have really good jobs.
Thank you, everybody. I want to mention that we're going to, after this, create some space here and do photos with Nima. If you want to take a picture with him, we have our wine, we have our food. Please stick around and enjoy a reception with us. But before we do that, tell us about your project at the end of your Toronto takeover at the end of February.
So, funny anecdote here. The first ever NIMANY show was in Toronto, 2005. Completely by accident, happened to be a convention center here in Toronto, and there was a trade show, and we did the first show. After that, every year we had a show until 2012, and then it stopped until last year. Last year we had a 3-day trunk show, which was very successful. 1,000 people a day showed up to the show. So this year, we're going to make it even better. We're going to make it bigger, and we're going to have different experiences at a new location. It's going to be February 28th, March 1st, and March 2nd. You get to experience art and fashion, and you get to see some really unique things. It's a big surprise. So mark your calendars, February 28th, March 1st, and 2nd.
Thank you, you guys, for coming. Thank you again to Shima and Mahnaz and Nasim and all the people who helped put this together for us. Please do stick around. Once again, a round of applause for Nima Behnoud.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There you go. A lot of food for thought. Not sure how much you agree or disagree with what was being said on stage by myself, by Nima. First of all, big thanks to Nima Behnoud for coming up to Toronto, doing this at the Ideas at the Roqe Hub. You should know that he's going to be returning to Toronto if you're in the Greater Toronto area for his own show, a whole NIMANY experience at the end of February and the beginning of March. Stay tuned for that. Check out his site and his Instagram page, etc., for details on that. Thank you to Nima for coming up for this Ideas at the Roqe Hub conversation. Thank you to the folks who made it here. And if you have any thoughts or ideas about this or pushback or whatever you want to, producer@roqemedia.com. Producer@roqemedia.com is where you can email us or you can post on any of our platforms. Next week, Thursday, February 6th is Roqe Live 4, so we won't have a show next week. We'll be recording that show, which we'll give you thereafter. But if you're in the Greater Toronto area, there's just a few tickets left. Thursday, February 6th, I assume it'll sell out in the next 2 or 3 days. So if you want to come, make sure to get your tickets. And I've just found out that 2 days after that, one of our faves and a guy we've had on Roqe a couple of times, and I just think he has one of the best voices in Iranian music, let alone any music anywhere. Kamyar is going to have a show here in Toronto on Saturday, February 8th at the Meridian Arts Center, I guess. So if once you've come and seen Roqe Live 4, if you're in town for that, or if you're just in Toronto, make sure on February 8th you see our friend Kamyar here at the Meridian Arts Center. All right. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together each week. That would be Super Parisa, Smart Pega, Seppi Wonder, Savvy Roham, Tina, the photo and video queen. Special thanks to talented Anahita, Methodical Kaveh, Solid Samin, and Bearded Omid. Thanks to the whole team who are working so hard on getting Roqe Live 4 together for next week. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Do subscribe if you haven't done so already. Just press the subscribe button. Give us good reviews. Find us on Instagram at Roqe Media, and in the bio of our Instagram page is where you can link for tickets to Roqe Live. You can find me on Instagram at Jian Gomeshi. Have yourself a great few days. We'll be posting up different cuts and videos of this Nima Behnoud interview. Stick around for that. In the meantime, Mizun Bashin.